Hi, it's Rich Hoffman here. So it's been the holiday season of 2025, and a lot of people have asked me questions, trying to learn more about me. It's the way it always goes. Families get together, people kind of close up the year and reflect, and people want to find out a little bit more about you, so they ask probing questions that don't relate to your normal relationship with them. And one of the most frequent questions that comes up is, what are you going to do for the holidays? All the kids come to your house, you go to their house, do you cook, and that kind of stuff. And my response to it is, I always kind of laugh when that comes up, like, no, I don't cook. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. That's my wife's job. And then you get the raised eyebrows, and they kind of look at you like, what? Are you serious? You can't say that? Well, I can say that because over 35, 36 years ago, 37 years ago, whatever it's been a while. Long time ago, my wife and I in 1988 were married, and we decided we wanted to have a very traditional family, and that's one of the reasons we got married young. We didn't like the way the world was going. We both agreed on it, and we decided to start a family and do it the way we wanted to do it. And that means very defined traditional roles. I mow the grass. She does all the cooking. I'll fix the cars and all that stuff. I go out into the, make a living, bring back, I always joke about it, I bring back all the apples, and she figures out how to make a pie out of it. She's been a housewife that entire time, the whole time we've been married, and I'll go out and work whatever hours have to be worked in order to make sure that she has the resources she needs. It's always been like that. Even if I had to work 80, 90 hours a week, I did it. And so that's the division of labor we've had in our family, and it's worked very well. And I think it's the way every family has to find some sort of way of dealing with the division of labor issue. And if you don't have, in this case, we utilize traditional methods. Men and women are good at different things, and I never bought the whole equality issue. There's things that she's really good at, and she does them, and there's things I'm really good at, and I do them, and it makes for good family management. So you get a lot of weird looks when you say that, but hey, I think we're in the age now where a lot of stuff's falling apart from the progressive agenda and all the family destruction. People are like, well, how do you have a good family? How do you live your life? Because I kind of like you and respect you, and I want to know how you do it. And then when you say, they talk about cooking and doing dishes and all this stuff, and there's always like little jokes about, well, I had so-and-so, my husband does the dishes, or, I'm going to be mad at him. And they say some stupid thing. And you listen to these conversations, and everybody giggles because it's like some tongue-in-cheek for some progressive joke that we made our men do things that are considered to be women's work, and we wonder why we belittle them and feel bad about them, and why society looks down their nose at men. And so men go out and they'll grow beards, and they'll try and do something to show that I'm a masculine guy, even though I'm doing the dishes, because my wife might not give me sex if I don't do what she tells me, but I'll grow a beard instead to show my masculinity. And that's the kind of world we're living in these days. And I'm at an age where I obviously don't care. I've done it for a long time, I've been successful at it. I've been successful at everything in life to some measure or another. And I don't have anything to apologize for. But in the first 20 years of our marriage, there was a lot of people on both sides of the family, and this comes up too because you get together and people want to know why you're kind of awkward with them. I've learned over time to put on a political face and talk to people I otherwise wouldn't care about or don't really like, or people have tried to harm me in some way. I can still sit there, shake their hand, and have a donut, even if I have my private thoughts about them. I know how to keep the poker face on while I'm talking to them, and you at least have a civil conversation. So in our family interactions, I'm mostly like that with just about everybody, because at some point in time, everybody's taken a shot at the way we wanted to have our family, and I never appreciated it or never forgave them for it. And one person, one aunt that I had, really was an audacious feminist, which I never could stand. And she actually thought when we first were married that she was going to take my wife out to lunch, take her on a little lunch trip, and lecture her about the necessity of feminism, because she wanted to be a housewife. She wanted to care for her husband in a very traditional biblical sense, and she didn't like it because she was a bra-burning feminist, a Woodstock type hippie, and she was all career first. And I just don't get along with those types of people. I work with lots of people who have all kinds of different ideas about things in the world, but when it comes to family management, I have very strong opinions about what works and what doesn't work. And that kind of feminist attitude doesn't work. It was poison that was interjected into our society to destroy the American family, and it was purposeful. And I think anybody who buys into that, including her, is a massive sucker. We've had all kinds of people who have done that kind of thing. And in her case, that particular lunch, it came up during the holidays where my wife reminded me about it. It was really audacious for her because, we're at the age where we would do that with our grandkids or nieces and nephews, and you try to steer them in a direction. And how audacious was it for her to, she didn't really, it's like we saw them 2 times a year, maybe for 4th of July and Christmas. And she thought she had the authority, because we were newly married, to pick my wife up and take her out and lecture her on feminism. Like, what was I going to think about that? I'm her nephew. She thought that it was going to have some kind of positive impact. And what was her objective? And the overall message was society over the individual. I don't care about my nephew. I care about what the social context is, and feminism is the future. And you, as a beautiful young woman who newly married into this family, need to get with it, or we're going to come after you. And that's essentially what she said. She said, we'll come after you if you don't buy into the feminist charge. So, of course, in the way that we are, we always dig in when people threaten us. We always fight. And for all those years of marriage, every year there's been some kind of fight with somebody trying to steer us in a direction. And it's only been over the last 15 years or so that a lot of them have given up. And now when we go to family functions, there's kind of a quiet barrier that resides around us because we're just all too far apart politically. You can get along for the sake of the family and get along, like I said, for the sake of the poker game of it, but do we genuinely like each other? No. We don't respect each other, and that lack of respect started from them to me when I married my wife and we wanted to build a family and build this great thing together. They weren't supporting us. They were trying to tear it down. And it's not they as in, this person or that person. It's a social context that they felt they had to adhere to at the sacrifice of the individual. And that means the individual family in this case. Individual scenario where 2 people decide we're going to have a division of labor for the construct of a successful family unit, like running a business, and you have some sort of social right to come in and alter that. And they never did. And that aunt that I talked about, it was a long time ago now, and lots of things have happened since then, and which never eroded what I was going to do. It's always, but the intention was always to cause trouble. And again, if you just start off, it's hard enough to start a life and do something with another person, build a life with them, start having kids, and do the day-to-day stuff, and have a positive outlook on it, without having all these other people, family members, peer groups, employees, employers, people who have their take, and they don't want you to jostle their accepted criteria, what they think is socially acceptable. So they'll try and steer you in a direction that makes them not feel so bad about the decisions they've made. And in the case of all those people who gave bad advice over many years, we're not going to keep that cycle going in our own family. That's not how we operate. We are now one of the wise ones. We're in that sub-elderly status where, people, you can say something to somebody and they'll either regard it as valuable or they'll discard it as generationally out of touch. But whatever they do, the advice is there because we've lived the life and we've told people what the results of their decision making is going to be because we've been there and done it. And we heard it all from everybody at some point in time. And the scars of time do withstand, but we're not the ones that did the lashing. And I'm certainly not one who asked for it. I just wanted to go have a decent life, build a decent family that would do something good in the world. And you could not get people to leave it alone. Everybody felt that they had some right to inject themselves and their stupid social commentary into it. All that commentary was given to them through a bunch of progressive notions that were injected into society to destroy the American family. And I made a commitment a long time ago to preserve the American family. And a lot of the things I do are along those lines. And I've seen it, so I share the stories and share the perspective, because a lot of that perspective was hard earned. But when people ask me about the division of labor thing and they try to give you the guilt trip, like, well, shouldn't you help your wife do the dishes, and shouldn't you help your wife cook for Thanksgiving dinner, and shouldn't you go out there and help make a pie? What, to show adherence to some feminist accusation that the division of labor should be a shared thing and that men and women are completely equal? They're not equal. They have different roles, they have different needs, they have different things they bring to the table. And when those things are brought in coordination and a team environment, you can get a really good family out of it. But if you're out there trying to make your aunt happy because she's a committed feminist, and she comes in and sees me with an apron on doing dishes, and it's supposed to massage her ego to feel like she did some good things in life. She didn't do good things in life. She made a lot of bad decisions, and she wants validity for those bad decisions by seeing social peer pressure prevent her from that realization. And that's not, that was never going to be a factor. I was never going to be that person. And after now many years of it, and people come and go, they die off, some new people are born. But when I have that kind of weary look, and we're all sitting there having a snack talking about the very surface level stuff, I have a long memory. I don't forget anything ever about anything, anybody. And when people deliberately try to interfere with my marriage and our construct that we committed ourselves to, almost 4 decades ago, my wife and I, to build a good, successful family, and I hear all these reckless, stupid ideas come out of their mouths, and I don't play along, there's a reason, because I think it's stupid, and I think people would be a lot better off if they took harder stands on the division of labor in their own families to protect the sanctity of marriage, rather than adherence to a social commentary that they got suckered into. And so when people want to know, I don't cook. My wife brings me my meal every day in my reading chair, every day. She cooks it for me, she brings it to me, and it keeps me so I can do all these other things, so I don't have to worry about even hitting the microwave button. She takes care of just about everything domestically at the house, and I take care of almost everything that's outside the house. And it's worked for us. It may not work for everybody, but it certainly works for us, and it has worked for many years, and it's been good for our family, and it's been good for doing what we intended to do, and that's project that goodness into subsequent generations of family members. And what they do with it is what they do with it. We've at least provided the means, and that starts with having a good marriage that works together to fulfill good traditional values that work for the building of family and the people that come out of that family. And it's always disingenuous when you allow outside parasitic social norms to be injected into the self-destruction of a family from within, and then you allow people through the merits of their titles within the family to gain leverage over the newcomers in destructive ways, and other people let them do it thinking that they're adhering nicely to social commentary, when all you're doing is being a sucker to the destruction of things that are really truly valuable in human society. And that's why I don't cook. That's why my wife does all the cooking. I don't look down my nose at her for cooking. I think she does some great stuff. She cooks some great meals. But I appreciate the fact people want to know how I do so much and read so much, and I'm always seem to be working on something almost 24 hours a day. I do sleep for 3 or 4 hours here and there, but all the other times I'm working, and when I'm there working, doing things that are important to those tasks, she's nice enough to cook and take care of all the other domestic stuff. There's always clean clothes to deal with. The house is always nice and well kept. And she actually brings my dinner to me in my reading chair as I'm plugging away at all kinds of other work. And that's how we make it work. So to answer the question, over the holidays, no, I don't cook. She does all of it. And she even brings me my dinner to my chair. So I don't have to spend extra time thinking about it. And she takes that burden away from me so I can do other great things that I think a lot of people benefit from. And that's just a little bit of a long answer to a short question that actually has a lot of deep roots to the social constructs of a healthy society in it. And I say it so that maybe more people might be inspired to work with their spouse to have a constructive lifestyle and not try to use a lot of emotional leverage to destroy the other person, but you work with the other person so that you can make a good family that young people can gravitate to and believe in and maybe want to emulate themselves. But you don't want to create a bunch of dysfunction, then have them copy that for generations to come. It's not good for anybody. Anyway, it's Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you haven't read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you'll love it. And we have a good day. See you later.